Now to CBS 2 political reporter Marsha Kramer, who says Mayor Adams is vowing to reevaluate the deployment of police officers on the subway. He says the tragic violence is a major setback in convincing people to come back to their offices in the city.
In a city where optics are often everything, Mayor Adams took the subway to City Hall after an Upper Manhattan news conference. It was the day after that Goldman Sachs employee was murdered in cold blood on the Q train.
Wow. A Goldman Sachs employee murdered on the Q train. We saw sisters protesting for, some of the dregs of society. I'm talking about some of the worst people in society. The worst that not just the Stand has to offer, but just America, the worst. These are really, really bad guys that sisters, was catching rubber bullets for, getting hit with deployed smoke canisters and getting arrested. Sisters done went their whole life with no arrest. Then they getting arrested out here for these guys. Just horrible individuals. Not because of the color of their skin or the texture of their hair, but because they have rap sheets longer than CVS receipts. And sisters got out and protested, tore and spearheaded. It wasn't just them, but the reason I'm speaking about sisters is because this guy worked for Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs been good to sisters, man. Goldman Sachs been good to sisters. You hear me, Jack? Listen, man. Y'all talk about reparations. Sisters already got their reparations from Goldman Sachs. And I know y'all probably like, this must be fake news. I haven't seen any YouTube videos of sisters online talking about how they've gotten these microloans and these grants from Goldman Sachs and took it and made business. Yeah, because all sisters get online to do is talk about who brothers is dating, who son men is dating, and systematic and institutional racism. That's all you're going to get from sisters, man. Or online, man. For the most part. Now, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part. So you're not going to see them talk about all this money Goldman Sachs threw at them. Just threw. That's a lot of money, Jack. Okay? We're talking about billions. And the only way you can get some of that money is if you're a sister. You're not a sister, you can't get nothing, man. So it would be nice if sisters was out protest demanding justice, because the guy who killed this guy at the time of this video, and I'm recording this part, he's not in custody, man. So, demand justice, man. Come on, sisters. Go to Michael's and Hobby Lobby and AC Moore and get all your arts and crafts stuff and go make some signs. Home Depot, go get all your wooden stakes and your cardboard, and your markers and your spray paint and your tape and your staple guns. Get all that stuff, man. Your glue. And get the sign making, man. It's time to get out and protest for this guy, man. He worked for a company that gave y'all reparations. Y'all already got y'all reparations. No, you only protest for thugs and criminals? Okay, sis, I got you. My bad. It was worth a try, y'all. Just try it, man.
The day after that Goldman Sachs employee was murdered in cold blood on the Q train. Is this symbolic to show people that it's safe?
No, it's substantive. That, that this is a mayor that is on the subway system, because I'm not going to tell New Yorkers to do something that I'm not going to do, because real leaders lead from the front.
Yeah, real leaders lead from the front with a security detail and a flock of cameramen and reporters. Because your ride on the train is just like everybody else's ride on the train. It's no different. You're doing the exact same thing as all these New Yorkers do when they get on these trains. You got to deal with these sunmen, these psycho sunmen, man. Exactly the same. There's actually no difference.
System, because I'm not going to tell New Yorkers to do something that I'm not going to do, because real leaders lead from the front.
Whether substantive or symbolic, the mayor's subway ride comes at a time when crime on the rails was apparently starting to turn a corner. Although overall subway crime is up over 57% since Adams took office on January 1st, it was up only 8.9% in the week that ended yesterday. And despite the April 12th Sunset Park subway shooting, ridership was starting to inch up. It topped 3.6 million last Wednesday, 61% of its pre-pandemic totals. MTA head Janno Lieber calling the murder
"It's an incredible setback for everybody's effort to put New York back on normal footing."
Which is why the mayor, who paid his fare and pointedly put on a mask, says he's going to reassess the steps he's already taken to put more cops on the subways to see if anything else can be done. After all, he did start his public life as a transit cop.
That's the uniqueness of me being here, because no other mayor understood the real deployment of police personnel like I do. And so you can't come to me if you're a police official and say you're just doing X.
The mayor lamenting the subway policing policies of his predecessor, Bill de Blasio.
For 8 years, it's my belief that we have really restricted these officers from doing their job. We're moving in a new direction. We are going to have officers do their job, not ignore quality of life issues, fare evasion. We were ignoring all of this in the past. We're not ignoring this anymore.
Now, that sounds really good to somebody like me, because you got to understand what he's talking about. Like, after Bloomberg and Giuliani and, all those guys were mayors of New York and they got the crime down, and the murder down, and it became one of the safest cities in the developed world, safest big cities in the developed world, de Blasio came in and, chipped away at that. And then 2020 happened, and it was over. But what de Blasio did was he allowed criminals, he stopped the small crimes, like because those things affect sunmen, right? Like loitering, selling things without a license, sleeping on the train, sleeping in the station, urinating, or just panhandling, fighting, playing like boom boxes and loud music, hopping the turnstile, not paying your fare. All those things that they used to, police would respond to, which made the place safe. They found out that those things, the people being arrested for those crimes were disproportionately Sun people. I mean, vastly disproportionately Sun people. So they had to stop that because that's racist. So now this guy's talking about he's going to bring that stuff, those racist policies back and start, holding people accountable for crimes, no matter how large or small. As he said, quality of life. You're on the train, some Sunmans, playing like loud rap music you can hear on the next car, so loud, you're just sitting there bopping. And that may seem like, that's just petty, man. Man, gliders play their music too, man. They be playing country music too, man. Well, why? Because they attacking our art forms, man. Yeah, but it's just a nuisance, man. Yeah, man, fair evasion, man. They the ones put us in poverty, man. And the train should be free, man. My ancestors built this. Not quite. Your ancestors didn't build that. Your ancestors picked cotton, man. Ain't build much, man. But look, fair evasion is a big deal, man. It's a huge deal. It's not small. So salute for this man for saying that he's gonna start, taking those small crimes that, just ruin it for everybody. Salute to him, man, for saying that. Now we got to see him do it.
We're moving in a new direction. We are going to have officers do their job, not ignore quality of life issues, fair evasion. We were ignoring all of this in the past. We're not ignoring this anymore.
The mayor spoke again about installing new subway weapons detection systems. He said they would be mobile and moved randomly from station to station. I'm Marcia Kramer, CBS.
Begin with the subway shooting that stunned riders.
A man heading to Sunday brunch is murdered in what police call a random and unprovoked attack. The shooting happening just before noon yesterday while the Q train was crossing the Manhattan Bridge into Manhattan from Brooklyn. The train then pulled into the Canal Street subway station.
New images of the suspect were released by the NYPD today, and they say they need your help in identifying and locating him.
Man, and listen, man, believe it or not, like somebody knows who that guy is just from this. Like, there are people who know, oh, that's Rodney, man. But that's Willie. I thought he was still locked up, man. He must have got out. Yeah, somebody knows who he is. Because his frame, his build, the way all this stuff. Now, it would be better if he didn't have a mask on. Then we all would know who he was. But there's somebody out there who knows who this guy is. And of course, he's a Sun man, but, Sun man shooting somebody who works at Goldman Sachs for no reason, absolutely no reason on the train. No big deal, man.
CBS 2's Leah Mishkin joins us live from Chinatown with more details. Leah. Maurice, Christine, the police do have a person of interest in mind, but it was heartbreaking today speaking to the victim's sister. This guy was 48 years old, a young man, and he just happened to get killed because he took the train in at a particular time on a particular day.
He loved his family. He loved his friends. He was loyal.
48-year-old Daniel Enriquez was born in Williamsburg. His sister told us their parents moved to America from Mexico for a better life.
Wow. Man, it's heartbreaking, man. This guy got a family, wife, people who were expecting him to come home, waiting for him to come home. Immigrant, came over here. My God. I mean, his parents came over here for a better life. And now he's working at Goldman Sachs. That's a hell of an indictment against the Sun community. He came over, his parents came over here, one generation. His son working at Goldman Sachs, man. We've been here for 400 years, man. Jesus Christ, man.
48-year-old Daniel Enriquez was born in Williamsburg. His sister told us their parents moved to America from Mexico for a better life.
So their children could have a better future. My brother is the oldest of 5.
The family moved to Washington State, where Enriquez went to college. He made his way back to New York in 1996 for graduate school at NYU.
He immediately got a job at Morgan Stanley.
For the last 9 years, he'd been working as a researcher at Goldman Sachs.
During COVID, he was able to stay home and spend time with his partner, but he also learned how to play guitar, piano, Brazilian Portuguese. He loved gardening.
Goldman Sachs' chairman and CEO said Enriquez epitomized our culture of collaboration and excellence. We're devastated by this senseless tragedy.
He's a regular New Yorker. He could have been any of us.
The Park Slope resident's partner of 18 years, who didn't want to go on camera, says Enriquez was on his way to get brunch with his brother Sunday. He told us the 48-year-old never rode the train on the weekends, but ride-share prices were surging, and he figured he'd take a car home. Police say he was sitting on a northbound Q train with other passengers when the tragedy unfolded.
According to witnesses, the suspect was walking back and forth in the same train car and without provocation pulled out a gun and fired it at the victim at close range as the train was crossing the Manhattan Bridge.
The NYPD says once the subway pulled into the Canal Street station, the suspect fled the scene. According to police sources, the person of interest has a violent criminal history. We're told the suspect handed the gun to a homeless man, but it was recovered and is currently being tested for DNA evidence.
So this guy has a violent criminal past, so they know who he is. They just got to find him. And we're going to find out that this guy, in not, I would say perfect world, this guy probably would have been locked under the prison, like beneath the prison, in a special area underneath the prison, for all the crimes he's been caught for. Because look at this one. Like, he almost got away with this, man. Think about when you see when they release his record. Think about that. He's probably been caught for what, 1 to 10% of the crimes he's committed. I know I have.
According to police sources, the person of interest has a violent criminal history. We're told the suspect handed the gun to a homeless man, but it was recovered and is currently being tested for DNA evidence.
I want this man to turn himself in and to get the help that he needs.
Get the help that he needs. Oh my God. It's so hard to root for these pasty libs. Well, in this case, spicy libs, man. Hard to root for these spicy libs, man. God. Help he needs. He's got a long history of violent crime. What about the help we as a society need, man? Help us get away from him. Help us not have to worry about him out here in the civilized world. How about that help? Always worried about the damn criminal. It's so hard to root for these libs, man. It's so hard.
I want this man to turn himself in and to get the help that he needs. I need to know who did this, and he needs to pay.
And the victim's sister, she told us that crime in this city has gotten out of hand and she wants to see more pressure put on the mayor. And he says the mayor needs to give more support to the NYPD and to the MTA. Live in Chinatown, Leah Mishkin, CBS 2 News.
Leah, thank you. The shooting is raising new fears about safety on the rails. All new coming up at 6. Political reporter Marsha Kramer shows us what the mayor did today to try to ease concerns.
Breaking news in the city. Police arrest a 25-year-old Brooklyn man wanted for allegedly shooting and killing a subway rider Sunday morning on a Q train. The suspect is in police custody tonight. CBS 2's Alice Gaynor live in Chinatown with the latest. Alice?
Dana, police say the manhunt is over. This alleged killer now off our city streets. They also say that responding officers on Sunday actually spoke with the suspect because they observed a man walking away from the subway station. They say he showed his ID. They were satisfied with his answers to the questions they were asking him. They also note he altered his appearance by changing up his clothing.
Did you hear that, sisters and pasty lips? Cops responding to the scene of this random shooting in New York City. This is a sun man with braids, dark-skinned sun man with braids, leaving the scene of a shooting. Cops are canvassing the scene. They're questioning people. Did you see anything? Anybody who fits the description, they're asking them questions and not arresting them. They ask them questions and then they let them go. That doesn't fit sisters' narrative. Sisters like to think that they just rounded up every Southern man in a mile radius, took them to the station and beat them up and demanded a confession. That's what sisters think. It's not like that, sis, man. I promise you it's nothing like that.
Dana, police say the manhunt is over this alleged killer now off our city streets. They also say that responding officers on Sunday actually spoke with the suspect because they observed a man walking away from the subway station. They say he showed his ID. They were satisfied with his answers to the questions they were asking him. They also note he altered his appearance by changing up his clothing. 25-year-old Andrew Abdullah didn't say anything as he was walked into the 5th precinct this afternoon.
Less than 3 hours after the NYPD released his photograph to the public, Mr. Abdullah knew he had nowhere left to run.
He was arrested at his lawyer's office this afternoon. In a statement, the Legal Aid Society said partly they were negotiating his surrender when, quote, he was needlessly ambushed out front of our Manhattan trial office by law enforcement, denied of his opportunity to first consult with counsel. The mayor responded.
Because it's about getting the bad guy off the street. That's what we did.
Bishop Lamore Whitehead says Abdullah's family members contacted him to help Abdullah turn himself in.
He said that he suffered from mental illness.
Don't you all? Just being is a mental illness for y'all, man. So it's like, look, man, we can't even count that as mental illness because that's just your natural state, man.
He said that he suffered from mental illness, mental health challenges. As far as I understand from the family, they say he doesn't recollect any of it at all.
Abdullah has an extensive criminal history, 8 prior arrests.
His criminal history stretches back to 2016 and includes charges of felony assault, robbery, attempted murder, and a still open gun charge from 2 years ago.
48-year-old Daniel Enriquez was on board the last car of a northbound Q train Sunday just before noon, headed to brunch. The NYPD says so too was Andrew Abdullah.
Eyewitnesses stated that a male was pacing back and forth inside the train car, muttering to himself. The only distinguishable words heard were "no phones."
They say Abdullah walked up to Enriquez unprovoked and shot him once in the chest, then fled the Canal Street station, handing off the stolen gun to a homeless man he did not know.
Daniel was shot in his heart. We feel it in our hearts. We lost a fellow New Yorker, one of the good guys.
No one knows that better than Enriquez's family. His partner of 18 years told CBS 2 he was glad for the public, but that this arrest doesn't change anything for him. Abdullah is facing charges of murder and criminal possession of a weapon. Outside of the 5th precinct in Chinatown, Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News. Alice.